Authority coverage will begin shortly. Your live interactive Weather Authority coverage will begin shortly.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Hope you're enjoying the beautiful day that we have out there. Very nice and calm out there today, and overall, that will remain the case through the rest of Wednesday and into much of tomorrow as well. So if you've got any errands you need to run, any last-minute Christmas shopping, any outdoor lawn furniture that for some reason is still out and could be blown around, a great couple days today and tomorrow to prepare your home, prepare your property for what is coming on Friday. I can't highlight enough how impactful this Friday storm will be, despite it not being a snowstorm. And I feel like a lot of times these events do tend to get overlooked, but this one has the potential to be a widespread power outage causing event here. So hopefully everyone is prepared for what is coming on Friday. Hopefully it doesn't impact anyone's Christmas in too big of a way, but I would prepare at least for some big impacts on Friday. Overall today, though, a beautiful day, sunny skies, highs in the mid-30s. Don't have to focus too much on that. Of course, the big focus is on the late week storm. So a very powerful storm going to develop over the Great Lakes. It'll reach us here late Thursday night and into early Friday, starting out with some mountain snow. All of us here at the coastline and inland areas likely just seeing all rain here, but damaging winds, power outages, coastal flooding, and freshwater flooding look to be the biggest threats here. So damaging winds will be with us all through the day on Friday, likely the worst of the winds late morning through mid-afternoon on Friday. Power outage concern is very high with gusts approaching 60 miles per hour or more in many locations. So that is certainly enough to knock out power for a large swath of Maine. Coastal flooding also going to be a concern. We've got a very high tide on Friday, and combined with that strong southerly onshore wind gusting up to 60 to 65 miles per hour could easily lead to some coastal flooding out there. So we'll likely see some coastal overwash. Commercial Street in Portland, I'm looking at you, probably going to see flooding with this storm. So if you live right along the coastline, or you live on a road or near a road that tends to flood in big coastal storms, it will likely flood in this one. So that's also a threat here. Freshwater flooding is also a threat because we're going to see a lot of heavy rain as we head into the day on Friday. And that is all falling, of course, on top of all the snow that we just got last week. So that will also be a concern, especially in the mountains where river and stream flooding is a big threat there. And of course, if you have any questions at any time, you can drop them in the comments. I'll be happy to answer them. Roger asks, should I start the generator up? Well, Roger, it depends where you are, but I would say it's not a bad idea. It's always better to be prepared, right? It wouldn't be a bad idea to start it up maybe late Thursday night or into early Friday, just to have it running, just in case, especially if you don't want any power interruptions. Wouldn't be a bad idea to have it on. And hey, hopefully we don't have many power interruptions, and it may not even end up needing to be used. But I'm thinking that we will see some big power impacts here with this storm. I can't state that threat enough. So not a bad idea, Roger. Hopefully, though, you don't end up needing it. All right, let's talk about this storm here. It'll sweep on through heading into Friday evening, and then after that, not even done with the threats just yet, a dramatic drop in temperatures plummeting from the 50s to the teens and low 20s in just a matter of a few hours. So that is also going to be a big threat here with refreezing of all of that moisture from the several inches of rain. Any standing water still out there will easily and quickly freeze. So a closer look at what we can expect here today. Very nice. A great day to get things prepared. A great day just to be outside and enjoy the sunshine before messy weather moves in. Tomorrow will be overall an overcast day, but overall a quiet day as well. And we'll see temperatures a little bit milder in the upper 30s, overcast skies, fairly calm conditions. The rain and the snow arrives overnight Thursday night and into early Friday. Here we go. It arrives late evening, likely around midnight or so, maybe even a little bit after that. Here we are, 7 a.m. Friday morning. This is likely when the rain is coming down very hard. The winds are also ramping up at this time, and the snow in the mountains will have probably changed over to rain by this point. Notice how the snow in the mountains is basically just pushed off towards the north. We're really not going to see a whole lot of winter weather with this system, but there will be a few inches of snow in the high elevations before that change over to rain. Look how mild we are at 7 a.m. in the morning on December 23rd in Maine. 50s at the coastline, 50 in Portland, likely getting even warmer than that. Greta asks, great question, Greta. Do you expect higher winds in the mountains or at the coastline? Coastal areas will likely see the highest winds overall, Greta. But if you're in the mountains, especially in the high elevations, that will rival coastal winds. So if you're in a gap or anywhere in the mountains that's high up that tends to get strong winds with big storms likely will rival those coastal gusts. So depending on where you are, though, I would say the coast will probably be getting the stronger wind just because it's so open and exposed. Great question, Greta. Thanks for asking. So 7 a.m. Friday, the rain, the wind continuing. It really will just continue to ramp up from there as we head towards the afternoon. This is likely when we'll see the strongest winds. This last final band of heavy rain, potentially even some thunder with very strong winds, will likely when we see the worst conditions. The timing, which is some good news here, has sped up a little bit. It looks like it'll be wrapping up a little sooner, probably 6, 7, 8 p.m. Friday evening as opposed to more 9, 10, 11 p.m. So that is some good news there, especially in terms of travel. I am actually traveling on Friday. I have a flight at 5 p.m. out of Logan Airport, and I am keeping my fingers crossed that this storm is out of there by the time we get to Friday evening, and it looks like it will be. So hopefully, for everybody's sake, it is out of here very quickly. All right, so winds really ramping up on Friday. This is likely when they're peaking mid-afternoon or so, gusts up to 65 miles per hour along the front, and then a dramatic drop in temperatures. Even a snowflake or two can't be ruled out. Notice how at Friday 3:30, we're at 51 in Portland. Friday, 8 p.m., already down to 32 degrees. That's why the flash freeze concern is so high, a dramatic plummet in the temperatures and even some snowflakes out there as well. Rita, thanks for asking how high winds along close like Willard Beach area, 55 to 65 miles per hour, especially since you're right on the water at Willard Beach. I would say the gusts will be very high there. How are things going to be in the Rumford industry area? Well, I think you're saved a little bit, Wanda, by the fact that you're a little bit further inland. 45 to 50 mile per hour gusts, certainly enough for power outages, but slightly less of a big threat than it is at the coast. Thanks for asking, Wanda. So things beginning to wind down. As we head into Friday evening, it will be getting very cold, and it will also remain blustery on Friday night and especially into Saturday as well. It'll still be blustery and very cold out there on Christmas Eve Saturday. I just saw a question about Sydney, which is just north of Augusta. Thanks, Barbie, for asking. I love the name, by the way. Sydney, looking like you'll still see some very strong winds there, but you're saved by being just a little ways away from the coast. I'd say peak gusts there up to 55 miles per hour. Freiburg area, similar to Rumford, Lori, depending on where you are. If you're very high up in the mountains, Lori, you'll probably see some stronger gusts, but up to 50 miles per hour expected there. Sanford, 50 to 55 miles per hour would probably be the highest gust. Thanks for asking, Chucky. Yeah, thanks for the questions, everybody. I appreciate you guys all asking, and keep them coming. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. All right, let's talk winds. Here we go. 6 a.m. Friday morning, already seeing gusts up towards 50 miles per hour at the coastline. They will only continue to ramp up from there as we head into Friday afternoon. So peak gusts up to 55 to 60 miles per hour will be the concern here as we head towards the late morning and especially as we get towards the afternoon. I mentioned that front is probably going to bring the strongest gusts here. And actually this model run is a little bit better looking for power outage potential. Likely, it's not looking quite as strong as some of the earlier model runs, but I still think we'll see gusts up to 60 miles per hour at the coastline. Mitchell says, bring on the snow. Sorry, Mitchell, not much snow expected this time. Shauna, do you think roads will be dry before the cold sets in? Shauna, I think overall, yes, the roads will be dry before the cold sets in. That strong wind should dry things out really pretty efficiently, but of course, with 1 to 2 inches of rain, there will be a lot of big puddles in standing water. Those will freeze and could still lead to some icy spots. So I think the icy threat is definitely lower on the list of threats with this storm, but there is still a threat there of some icy roads. Natalie says, I want snow and lots of it. Same, Natalie. I really do wish this was a snowstorm. It would be a blockbuster. We'd be talking about this storm for weeks if this was a snowstorm, but unfortunately, not so much here. Ice storm potential, Eric asks. Thankfully, not an ice storm, so very low, really no ice storm potential with this one. So everything will melt and refreeze then? In some sense of that, yes, essentially, especially in the mountains where there's plenty of snow on the ground. If a lot of that melts, a lot of it will refreeze. Hopefully, though, the roads can be saved the worst impacts. Thank you, Francine. I appreciate the kind words. Thank you for a comprehensive report. That's what these Facebook Lives are for. I can really dive into the details. I'm not as time constricted with these. All right, high wind watch in place for the entire state of Maine for gusts up to 65 miles per hour. So no matter where you go, you're heading up to Bangor, going to be windy. You're heading up to Rangeley, it's going to be windy. Caribou, going to be windy. Heading to Acadia National Park, it is going to be windy. Across the whole state, we will see very strong winds with this system. And that is why the power outage threat is so high because, of course, if the whole state is getting impacted, CMP or other power companies have to respond to the entire state. So that could make getting power restored a little bit more difficult, especially if the whole state is dealing with outages. Coastal flood threat, very high. Coastal flood watch in coastal Cumberland, coastal York, and up towards the mid-coast, as well as the entire coast of Maine. I see that's now been extended. So the entire coast of Maine has potential for some moderate coastal flooding. Just be aware of that threat. Boats are being hauled out to be safe. Great call. Thanks for that report, Robert. Natalie, will it be a white or brown Christmas? I'll have to scroll up and see where you are. I think you did say where you were earlier. Natalie, if you don't mind telling me where you are, I can give you a better indication if it'll be a white or brown Christmas. In the mountains, it's going to be hard to melt 30 inches of snow in a day. So I think there's a good chance of a white Christmas there. Here in Portland, all the snow will likely be gone, except for the piles of it, of course. Greta, Facebook reminded me that around Christmas 2020, we had considerable flooding. I was actually just talking to Charlie about this. It is almost an exact repeat in terms of dates and everything. 2020, December 17th or so, we had a big snowstorm. December 17th, 2022, big snowstorm. And then a few days later, just before Christmas 2020, a big wind and rainstorm that melted a lot of that snow. Almost exactly the same situation this year, although this storm is looking a lot stronger than that one back in 2020. Moscow, that's up in the mountains. You're probably going to have a white Christmas, Natalie. I think that's who asked that. Moscow, Maine. Natalie, I think that there's a good chance you'll still have at least a few inches of snow on the ground Christmas. I think it'll just be hard to melt all of that, even if it is mainly rain there. And you'll probably get a couple inches of snow before things wrap up. Let's talk temperatures, because this is one of the most extreme temperature maps that I've seen in my time up here in Maine. All right, 50s on Friday morning. We're going to be warming up into the 50s, right? It's going to be very mild. Watch that crash in temperatures. It's extremely dramatic. Look at that sweep of cold air moving in. By 11 p.m., Portland nearly in the teens after being in the 50s just a few hours before. So there is a flash freeze threat, but luckily these winds will be very dry. So it should help in drying off the streets and roads just before we can see too much refreezing. I know I'm running up on 12 minutes here. It is a lot of threats to talk about, you guys. 1 to 3 inches of rain is coming for most of the state, likely higher amounts in the mountains. That will certainly lead to some flooding. Hopefully it will be minimized though. And as long as we can not get above really 45 to 50 degrees in the mountains, I think the flood threat should be fairly minimized. Natalie, you're my favorite person. I just want a white Christmas. Well, it won't be the prettiest white Christmas, but I think it'll technically count as an official white Christmas there. Am I able to comfortably predict wind gusts in the Casco-Raymond area during this storm? Yes, I do feel pretty comfortable. Up to 50 to 55 miles per hour there. The lower in elevation you are, the better it will be, Vicky. If you're really close to Sebago Lake, I think that unless you're right on the lake, of course, the wind there will be coming off the lake, and that will kick it up even more. But if you're near the lake, but a little bit away from it, you're probably not in too bad of a position for this storm. All right, rain 1 to 3 inches. There will certainly be some minor flooding at least, and then the cold air moves in, and it's going to be very frigid on Christmas Eve. Wind chills in the single digits most of the day. And then Christmas Day, we will see the winds calming down, but it will still be very cold. So highs only in the mid-20s on Christmas Day. So a quick look at our 7-day forecast here. I'm going to come and answer a couple more questions. Of course, today's actually the winter solstice. Happy winter solstice, everybody. The shortest day of the year. If you're not a big fan of these short days, well, every day from now till next June improves. We're getting longer days here. So that's some great news. I'm happy about the return of some longer days here. Look at our 7-day forecast in the 30s today and tomorrow. 50s on Friday with the wind and the rain. Very cold Christmas Eve and Christmas Day weekend. Inland towns also seeing a dramatic rise in temperatures on Friday, and then a dramatic plummet in temperatures. 30-degree drop in highs in just one day. 52 on Friday, 22 for the high on Christmas Eve. All right, Beth asking, what about Brunswick, Maine weather for Friday? All right, Beth, I'm going to give you the quick rundown here. All right, rain and wind beginning likely 3, 4, 5 a.m. or so, quickly ramping up through the morning. Worst conditions coming for you mid to late afternoon on Friday as the cold front itself moves in, and then dramatically plummeting temperatures Friday evening. So worst conditions during the morning, maybe a little bit of a lull during the day, and then another round of the worst conditions likely in the evening, Beth. So hopefully that answers your question. Still not looking like a great day to travel overall on Friday. So hopefully everybody has a great rest of your day. Stay safe out there. Of course, I'll do another Facebook Live tomorrow. We've got 2 good days of preparations here. Tomorrow I'll give them another update. Maybe things will have trended less impactful, hopefully, for us here, because no one wants to be without power on Christmas. So hopefully everybody can keep their power through the Christmas holiday. That's my Christmas wish for everybody. And hopefully everybody has a great rest of your day today. So have a great Wednesday, everybody. I will see you on Facebook Live tomorrow morning.
This has been Live.